then you might second guess yourself. But we will take a look at the classes now and see what classes both of these players are going to be bringing. So Druid ban for TingTing, Rogue ban for HelloLeeroy. Leeroy apparently has 2 Warlocks. We will change that. Warlock, Druid, and something else. And then TingTing has Rogue, Priest, and Paladin. So ignoring HelloLeeroy's for now, for TingTing's, anything you can judge from that with the bans he's made?
So TingTing has the same lineup as Lemon did in the previous series. I presumed that the Priest last time was Big or Razakus, but as we've seen, apparently Priest can be like 5 different decks now. Breakfast Priest, Silence Priest, Dragon Priest, Razakus Priest, or Big Priest. With the Rogue ban, again, I would presume it would be, again, it could be Silence, because the idea of banning Rogue is you deny those Vast Bind Slayers, but I would presume maybe a Big with the Rogue ban, and then TingTing playing Rogue himself. It's always pretty much Keleseth Rogue and Paladin. We've seen different builds. I know that Team Lovely Lots in Trinity series brought a mid-range Paladin with the top end of lots of big cards, like they played Uther and they played Rag Lightlord, and I think Tyrion. I'm not sure about exactly what cards were in there, but there's a chance he could bring a bigger Paladin. I presume it'd be the Murloc build.
That is something I've noticed that happens quite a lot in Premiership, is that because we have the Trinity series the previous week or the next day, I've seen a lot of decks be kind of carbon copied from what is successful in the Trinity series, which is quite surprising considering it is a different format. We did get clarification. We did see that HelloLeeroy's 3rd deck, or 4th deck, should I say, was Warrior rather than the 2nd Warlock, so we'll be looking forward to a Warrior at some point. But now we jump into, well, this is going to be an interesting one because HelloLeeroy has got a decent start himself, but so is TingTing. I get him. No, he hasn't. I was going to say he's got a good start, but then I just saw the patches, and no, it's not.
Yeah, of course we're still pre-Mulligan phase, so I imagine, of course, get rid of that patches, get rid of that Vicious Fledgling. They're not obviously the cards you want in these matchups. And then from HelloLeeroy's side, it's really interesting. We have the Imp, so he could keep Imp and Doomguard maybe, but I imagine he's just going to want to get the early game, and Prince Keleseth.
Yeah, Keleseth is a horrible card, and I hate it. But it's disgusting to play against, but oh my god, it is so fun when you get Keleseth into Shadow Step, into Keleseth, into Shadow Step. It's crazy how much you can just win a game by doing that.
So we see a Tar Creeper here from Leeroy. That's not standard in Zoo, and that's already one card we see maybe tech for TingTing, expecting aggressive decks. Oh, we do see Deckhand on 1 here. Now this is maybe, you could have held this back for Prince and played it on turn 3 with a dagger, but he really doesn't want to fall behind on board here against a Flame Imp. Like, he wants to just deny Flame Imp by playing the Deckhand, basically.
This is something that I was going to ask you actually before TingTing even made that play, because certainly me, when I personally play this deck, I will always wait if I have a turn 1 Pyro until I've played Keleseth. But now you've explained perfectly as to why you would wait in case of that Flame Imp. But there is no Flame Imp there. So actually, I guess it works out okay for TingTing anyway, because he can still play Keleseth next turn and use the same damage.
Personally, I would have held, because looking at the hand, we don't have a good curve out from the Rogue, so turn 3 looks like Dagger Deckhand anyway, which means I would have definitely held on to the Deckhand for the Prince, and it would have. It's interesting how it would have worked out. We do see a Firefly being played over the Malcazar's Imp. I think he wants to play the Malcazar's Imp on 4 for the Doomguard. Yeah,
really try and guarantee that card draw. Only a slight smirk when Keleseth came out from HelloLeeroy. That's certainly a different HelloLeeroy from previous iterations of the Premiership. He would have been arms aloft and complaining that the player has far too much luck. But now he has the option of either just coining out this Star Creeper and trying to stop some of this damage early, but he may want to save that coin for potentially a Doomguard on 4.
Yeah, so these turns are really interesting here. HelloLeeroy has already seen the 1 kept card from TingTing, which was the Deckhand. So he has no real... These are just random cards in TingTing's hand. He could hope there's no backstab here. And the Tar Creeper contests the board really well. He can go 1/1 next turn. It just makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah, Tar Creeper is probably one of the most annoying cards when you are playing Tempo Rogue. Unless you have the backstabs, the SI7 agents, for example, to deal with them. Even something like a South Sea Captain can really help get through Tar Creepers, but this one's going to be a bit of an annoyance for TingTing.
Yeah, and this is where we see the problem he had. I mean, it's only because of the cards he's drawn, but in this scenario, it would be great to have 2 Deckhands in hand. You play 1 this turn, next turn you can combo 1 with the SI7 agent, but now he might just not be able to play Deckhand at all, since he needs to concentrate on his turn 4 here, with the Deckhand SI for the combo activation. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Dagger pass, but then TingTing's like, I'm going to fall too far behind, so maybe you play the Deckhand and hope you draw a 1-drop or a 0-drop.
Yeah, considering his turn 1 play. He was very concerned about falling behind. So that explains why he's waiting so long, because once you're in that frame of mind, you don't want to change your game plan too quickly, but he may be forced to here. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is just dagger pass.
So,
okay, taking a hit as well.
Punches here, thinking that next turn he can punch it, and but he trades as well here. It's interesting that he trades, because that's a trade that Leeroy would often do for him. So he could just take 1 extra face damage here. He's protecting it from Mortal Coil. There's obviously no Dreadlord yet. I'm really not sure why you would trade the patches here. You could draw a Sassy Captain potentially, and you might play that with a deck hand. And having a patches would be great on board.
So patches being drawn isn't the end of the world for Leeroy here, because you can use this to clear off this Keleseth and keep Tark Reaper. But it's whether you're going to. You don't have the coin anymore, so you can't coin out Doomguard on 4. So potentially you want to wait to use the Imp still on turn 4, as you said previously. So we might just see Elemental, Patches, and Arcarus here.
Yeah, so from HelloLeeroy's perspective, he could play the Imp here because it's very unlikely to be contested. He just saw Hero Power pass from TingTing and swing the dagger, so he might think, oh, he just has nothing, so he's going to re-equip the dagger next turn and just has no plays. Maybe his hand's heavy. So he's going to try and exploit the heavy hand here from TingTing and just try and spread as wide as possible here.
There's Sassy Captain, so that's going to be the first buffed up Keleseth minion played. It does mean he can play a 3-2 deckhand on the board as well. But the trouble is, he can't charge with it because he has to, well, use his hero power just to deal with this 4-1.
Yeah, it is a 4-4 as well. So we do see the punish here for just the patches potentially not being on board. The patches. A tactical error. The patches would be on board here, and this would be a 4-2 Tark Reaper, and the patches would just trade into it, and this would work out so much more clean for TingTing.
And TingTing's just realised as well that he can't
dagger the 4-1 and swing the 3. He wanted to kill the Malcazar's Imp here, but yeah, he has to trade the 3-2 first.
So do you, at this point, do you trade the 3-2 into the 4-1 and then just kill off the 2-1?
He just wants to play the 3-2 basically as a Flame Imp here, which is fine as well. And oh, we see this is the awkward thing about HelloLeeroy's previous turn of 1-1. Without a good top deck, he might have a dead turn here.
Yeah, I'd say just patches is a pretty dead turn. I would say so myself.
However, it's not that dead. He can still clean up the whole board here, and then have the Malcazar's Imp still alive. Is he?
I mean, yeah, he can clear it up, but the Imp would just be on 1-1, right? So it can then die to a hero power. So then you are encouraging your opponent to waste 2 mana, essentially, which I think is fine. Yeah,
he could as well decide to not trade at all, potentially, but I really like the trades here, the cleanup. Considering TingTing's turn 3 was Dagger Pass, HelloLeeroy can have the read that there's no good 3-mana play along with the Dagger, and could definitely just try and force TingTing to Dagger here, and maybe end up floating 3 mana. We do, however, see the SI, which can just be played naked.
I don't know why you wouldn't trade here for HelloLeeroy.
Yeah, I can't see it myself. There's potential second Sassy Captain.
Yeah, there's potential
just buff cards, potentially. Maybe Cobble isn't really a punish, but we do see a Swashbuckler pick up here. Now we have the choice between Cobalt, Swash, and SI. I think he's really going to want to kill this because of Doomguard. So I doubt Cobalt's going to come down.
Yeah, it looks like Swash into SI7 Agent instead. Picking up a Siphoned Soul is really nice. It can typically be very hard to remove something as a rogue.
Yeah,
so Siphoned Soul's going to come in handy.
He chooses to develop the 2-2 over daggering, but this makes his turn kind of awkward. You could have daggered this turn, and then you could have gone 1-drop, 5-drop next turn, and now he's going to end up floating 1 mana on 2 turns, which is essentially missing out on a dagger, but in order to develop a 2-2 1 turn earlier. I'm not really sure what this 2-2 does 1 turn earlier. Maybe I guess it gives you a trade on Dreadlord, so it does make some sense, but we do see the Doomguard down. He really wanted that Cairn.
Did he want Cairn more than his second Doomguard?
I'm not sure. Yeah, of course we want Doomguard as well. Yeah. There was a lot of... Oh, that's a huge top deck. There were a lot of strong cards in Leeroy's hands, so I don't think he minds discarding those 2.
But saying goodbye to 1 Cairn and then another Cairn comes into play, but this one's going to be a 5-6 rather than a 4-5. So Doomguard can't even deal with that comfortably. Of course, Despicable Dreadlord coming onto the board means that he can deal with one of them.
Yeah, so this is also a 6-6, not a 5-5.
Yep.
So again, the Doomguard, as you said, doesn't contest. And now he makes a 5-2, that also contest the Doom card here. So this works out really well, apart from the fact there's this Despicable Dreadlord in hand, which means that the 6/6 can be cleaned up, and I imagine it has to be coming down.
Yeah, it has to be, but annoyingly, that 5/2 can't. Something like a Mortal Coil would have been huge for HelloLeeroy if it was in the deck, but very rarely is.
Yeah, so you can see TingTing's thought process here. If he has the punish, which is despicable, I get a 5/1 into a 4/5, so it's not even a punish for him. So yeah, the Cobalt Scaler made a lot of sense here.
TingTing's starting to slowly run away with this match. Of course, the +1/1 on all the minions from Keleseth is making quite an influential difference now. Doomguard usually is a pretty big swing, but I don't feel like it's enough right now.
Yeah, so this Lich King, there's just no removal in the Zeus deck for it, and without having board, it's going to be impossible to trade into. I'm thinking that this is a Blood Reaver Gul'dan game, maybe for Leeroy, if he can make it there, but we see 5 damage potentially from Ken each turn, 8 from the Lich King. He's going to struggle to get to 10. He could play Doomguard and trade here, but I think he just played the Dreadlord. Oh, no, he does go for the Doomguard and smash. So he's going for a different line here. We're just going to try and hope that TingTing has a really non-reactive hand with a tall minions, sort of like Scalebane, but the punish is there with a randomly generated Cypher.
Is that a little bit like Netflix and chill, Doomguard and Smash?
Not quite the same, I don't think, Dan.
No? Okay. That's going to be my pickup line from now on when I go to clubs.
All right.
All right, babe, fancy a Doomguard? No, it's not. But HelloLeeroy pretty much all out of options now. TingTing's board is far too big for him. Okay. Imp plus Soulfire plus trade at least gets you something, but I think you're far too far behind for any sort of real comeback.
I mean, the fact that he played Doomguard last turn meant that the Lich King couldn't be played. Now, this helps Leeroy in the fact that maybe he just has 1 turn extra now. Maybe he can make it to turn 10. If he can draw something like Saronite Chain Gang next turn, or maybe stick a minion for Bone Mare, which is look what he might do here. Yeah, he's just going to kill off the 2/3, stay spread wide, try and draw a taunt minion, so we're looking at Bone Mare, we're looking at Chain Gang, and then draw the Gul'dan. This is Leeroy's out this game.
Lich King is going to be...
Ooh, yeah. Talking of Chain Gang, though,
yeah,
4 into 5 potential.
2 3/4s.
That's just so many more stats than the Lich King. Even though the power of the Lich King card can be better than these stats, developing this is just, yeah, there's nothing that can go wrong.
Well, TingTing takes the lead then, 1-0 up against HelloLeeroy in a game where HelloLeeroy unfortunately didn't have the swing turns that he would want, and it was actually that Siphon Soul that made the real difference off of the Swashbuckler. And that's why Swashbuckler's played, right?
Yep.
It can get you those outs that maybe you won't expect. It can get you cards that sometimes can give you that edge. Trying to think if there's anything that went wrong for either player, but HelloLeeroy, there was no decision that could have been different for me personally.
Yeah, there were some turns where he could have done slightly different things. I don't think it would have affected the outcome. I think TingTing could have done some things. I would have definitely held on to that deck hand.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have, and not, there's another turn where you don't trade the patches, I think. But in the end, the Keleseth buff is just way too strong. And we saw that really, the turn I think was turn 4 for Leeroy, where tap pass, of tap patches, basically, almost the equivalent of tap pass, was just way too slow onto the board.
Now I'm wondering what warrior we're going to see from HelloLeeroy as well, because we've seen a few warriors pop up in the Premiership. Most of the time, admittedly, it's been George C. He's been bringing like the control/fatigue warrior. We haven't seen as much pirate warrior as I would have thought. Is it just bad in this current meta?
Yeah, so interestingly, TingTing himself, the last time he played, brought Pirate Warrior against George C. So maybe HelloLeeroy is going to bring a Control Warrior to counter a potential Pirate Warrior he thinks TingTing might bring.
Okay. Yeah, that's
what I'm thinking of, potentially. Also, it could be a Pirate Warrior. He did ban Druid, which makes me think it's the Control Warrior, because you're really scared of playing its Big Druid as Control Warrior. But it could also be Pirate Warrior, which beats up Rogue, potentially. But I'm thinking it's going to be a Control Warrior from HelloLeeroy.
Maybe it could be one of HelloLeeroy's famous homebrewed tempo warriors.
Oh, maybe it could. Amani Berserker, that's his favourite card, I heard.
I mean, I think I say this every week, but he was very confident about a tempo warrior, like just before the expansion, I think, saying it was like the best deck in the game, and he was just throwing Bittertide Hydras in it as well, Argent Commanders and stuff like that. But that remains to be seen. We'll have a little look at that later, but it's going to be Big Priest this time. Not for Green Sheep, though. It's actually going to be TingTing that will have it.
Yeah, and the balance is exactly what you're looking for. So we have a double captain hand, so ball control here. playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we got you off the desk. We were bored of you casting, so we were like, actually, we'll make him play again. I think what's trying to happen is we're trying to get this score back online because I've noticed that the scores haven't been showing up in the previous games. So we do apologise for that technical difficulty. I'm sure we will sort that one out shortly. But regardless, it's not Green Sheep versus Ball Control. It is still TingTing versus HelloLeeroy. There we have it. And we've got the scores as well. Good job, production.
Yeah, so we see the Embrace Shadows in TingTing's hand. Now, there's a list recently popularized by Zalay and Just Saying got rank 1 legend on the NA server, playing Embrace Circle, all the combos of AoE clears possible, and I think that this is the list that TingTing has brought.
And if HelloLeeroy wasn't going to be annoyed about KLSF on 2, I wonder if he's going to be annoyed about Barnes on 4.
Ooh, this is an interesting turn here for TingTing, sorry. He could pick Eternal Servitude, obviously great with the Barnes, or you could also pick Circle of Healing, great with the Embrace. So he's just going to go for the Circle of Healing here, clean up this board, and then I think he thinks the Barnes will be strong enough after the board clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he's got a Silence in hand as well, so that does mean that whatever he summons as a 1-1, in theory, could make it bigger. I know you'll be tempted potentially just to keep it as a 1-1 because maybe it's got a good effect, like Yasraj, it might summon something from your hand, but maybe making it a 10-10 rather than the 1-1 might just be a winning play.
Yeah, so with the Eternal Servitude in hand, I don't think you normally silence through a minion, but without it, it's definitely a viable option. Just like silencing your Sarah, make a 4-12 that contests all of Zoo's minions really well. So I think Leeroy knows now that it's Big Priest. The only deck that uses the Embrace Circle combo is Big. Not much he can do about that regarding his plays though.
I just saw him lip read, please not Barnes, but
yep.
Of course, there it is.
Ooh, so your charge is obviously the best here. Statue is the most common role since there's 2 of them, and it's
Statue is always the most frustrating to play against, I find, being summoned, because obviously it's going to kill what's ever on board. And then when it's just brought back to life by an Eternal Servitude, you're really struggling.
Yeah, so we might see Leeroy mouthing no Servitude now, but again, we do see that. Oh, 2 copies of it.
Servitude. Yeah, this game might already be gone. And Barnes tells tales of stories, and maybe it'll be HelloLeeroy telling tales of KLSF and Barnes ruining his chances of potentially getting to finals here.
Right, so this game may look over, but it definitely isn't. There's still potential for Leeroy to he can build up a board. If there's no, obviously we do see in TingTing's hand a second Servitude going into an Obsidian, but from Leeroy's perspective, there's a chance that there's just no other board presence for a while. From TingTing, you can clean up this statue and then start developing board yourself. The Soulfire here is a great pickup. It does allow him to kill the statue.
See, I'm just concerned when Leeroy turns slightly to the left that he blends in with his bedsheets, and it freaks me out a little bit. It's like a green screen, very orange.
Yeah, like an orange screen.
Yeah, maybe that's the future.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind for your stream. But Leeroy is on tilt factor right now. He is not particularly happy. He's having a conversation with himself, saying that this is unbelievable. It's happened 2 games in a row, blah blah blah. And this was the Leeroy that you didn't really want to be seeing, because when he goes 2-0 down, going into those 3 games that he needs to win, he's still going to be contemplating all the things that have happened in the previous 2 games.
Yeah, just his reactions here. I think he should get his head back in the game here. It's definitely, like, he might think this game's over, but he wants to make the best play possible each turn. And you don't want to be messing up turns when the game isn't completely over.
South Sea Captain doesn't get discarded, but the Bone Mare goes, and of course that's more just to anger Leeroy as well. I always love it when Leeroy is playing, because I feel like people come to this Twitch stream, maybe they might be expecting a little bit of Trinity series, and they think that people are talking to each other, but it's just HelloLeeroy talking to himself. Actually, you're the same.
Yep.
You talk to yourself a lot as well. I think it's good practice, though. I think saying things out loud whilst you're playing makes you a much better player.
Yeah, I like saying things. Just repeating things out loud makes you just not forget them as well. But yeah, HelloLeeroy has definitely not forgotten about the Barnes on turn 4. He's repeated that a few times.
I mean, it's like driving. It's apparently if you drive and you speak what you're seeing, it makes you a better driver. So maybe if you're wondering, kids, how to be a good Hearthstone player, say what you see. Yeah,
so TingTing's just considering, do I pain this? It's a 3-3. I think, of course, you pain it. You push down into the Barnes. He could have healed the Barnes and traded. It's fairly inconsequential which one he does. We do see 2 Dark Iron Dwarfs. This is an interesting tech choice from Leeroy going to... Of course, he's going to have to play this Zoo again if he's going to win. I wonder why he has 2 of these. These have normally been cut from this.
I think we saw him last week playing 2 Dark Iron Dwarfs as well in his Warlock. Again, I think it's just a HelloLeeroy thing. It's something that I reckon that he has statistical results on, that he's done well with on ladder or something, so he just goes with it. Same reason why he was always playing Hydras in every single deck. But this is just rubbing salt in the wounds at the moment for TingTing. And not even a smirk out of him, might I add. This is all serious business.
Yeah. Leeroy, if he could get any more horrified, I think he just did.
Soulfire's not going to help out too much. I mean, this game was probably over for quite a while. So now he's just buffing up the Barnes just to say, yep.
So all Leeroy's really doing here is giving information to TingTing. TingTing might not have known he was playing Dark Iron Dwarf. Now he can actually play around that on turn 4. I think, yeah, HelloLeeroy should probably just be, conceding this one. We see even more threats being drawn by TingTing. And the tilt factor is even going to grow for Leeroy, seeing even more good draws.
Yeah, I think this might be, I know I said earlier, sometimes you should just not concede so you can try and get yourself a little bit back in your own head, but HelloLeeroy should have just conceded and maybe even just taken a little toilet break or something. I wouldn't be surprised actually if we are delayed ever so slightly by a toilet break, because I think he needs it.
Yeah, we've seen on on other streams, Crane actually has a hole in his wall.
Oh wow!
On Trinity after some drawing patches too many times. Yeah, I don't see any such things in HelloLeeroy's room. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some broken items after these games. But the Bone Med draws a good pickup. Unfortunately, the Death Threat will kill one of these minions. You can Soulfire as well. Like, he's actually in a good ball position here. We do, however, see a Dream and an Obsidian statue here. And yeah, that's just too much. Yeah,
I mean, from HelloLeeroy's point of view, as you were saying earlier, like the game was still possible. But unfortunately, there's just been answer after answer that sits into frustration. So TingTing is going to go 2-0 up here. There is no way now back for HelloLeeroy. And he's one game away from being eliminated and not making a live finals again. Would be the second season running.
I mean, we did see the Barnes this game, but it doesn't always come down to that. This is a favoured matchup from the Big Three side just because they run Dragonfire Potion, they run Pint-Sized Horror, they run Embrace Circle, they run Pains, they run Death, they run all removal deck, and the Zoo is just a board presence deck. So the Big Three can sometimes just remove everything the Zoo plays. So the Barnes obviously was a strong play. Yeah. It doesn't always decide that matchup, and that was definitely a favoured matchup for TingTing going into it.
And I think what's worse for HelloLeeroy is I know that looking back on last week, he said there were a lot of decisions he could have made. He thinks he probably could have made to finals. A lot of people were saying he threw the game, of course, as a meme that he joked, saying that he could have won it. So that frustration is going to get even more so now. And he goes up against TingTing's Paladin, and we discussed the Paladin earlier, what it could be, what it couldn't be. But more importantly, can we see HelloLeeroy realistically getting 3 wins with these decks against Paladin?
So, Zoo versus Paladin, that's definitely winnable for the Zoo. That's a fairly 50-50 matchup. Whoever can get on board first. We saw that matchup earlier in the day, and we saw that Dan's WF, he got on board really fast with the Warlock and just snowballed the lead and won that game. The Control Warrior versus the Paladin, it really depends on the build of the Control Warrior. You can, maybe it could be Taunt Warrior with the Quest. That's slightly unfavored against the Paladin, but of course can win. And then the Druid versus the Paladin, we saw that as well earlier. Dan took the win with the Druid against Paladin, so definitely winnable for Leeroy.
Well, let's find out. Is Leeroy going to be able to stage a comeback here, or is it going to be TingTing going to the finals? It is just a Paladin left for TingTing, and 3 decks available for HelloLeeroy. So just 1 out of 3 for TingTing now. And he'll be feeling in a good position, but he knows as well as we do, Hearthstone can sometimes just not go your way. It's been going his way so far, but it could change very drastically.
Right, and you were saying how much Leeroy loves Beta-Tide Hydra. We see here one on screen, and this is, of course, just going to be Pirate Warrior with the 3-mana War Axe.
And it's got Argent Commanders in as well, which isn't as common. A Cruel Taskmaster. Is this Pirate Warrior? Is this Tempo? It's finally happened!
Blood to Icar as well, yeah.
I've been talking about this for about 7 bloody weeks, and finally HelloLeeroy is going to bring it.
Yeah, and this, of course, from TingTing's side is John Ray's UK Paladin. We can tell that because of the Dread Corsair and the patches. That means he's going to be playing 4 weapons, the Running Blade and the True Silver, and then curving out at the Curator. We do see the use of the Cruel Taskmaster here, killing off his patches. Now, that gives away the game to TingTing, I think, here. That is a Tempo Warrior and the Bone Mail as well.
Now, with UK Paladin, how popular is this deck in the international scene then? Of course, it's very popular within the UK, but is it a viable deck all round when it comes to Hearthstone that we see quite often in other tournaments?
It's definitely a viable deck. I haven't seen it too much across the international scene. It's strange. People seem to be preferring to play this new Zubot version I've seen. They seem to be focusing, maybe there's people like Zalay just have more reach in terms of followers and stuff. And maybe that's why, or we do see the patches summoned here from Leeroy, and this is just so far ahead on board, but it's definitely a very viable deck. I would personally play the UK Paladin over any other list.
Because there was a discussion the other day where we were talking about UK Paladin, and I think it was Raven was like, is that even a deck? And we were like, yeah, I think it is. I think it is actually a deck. Our UK boys actually know what they're doing when it comes to Hearthstone. We're in a nice position with Hearthstone where our UK players are actually as good as some of the world's best. And I'm not just saying that because you're next to me, but I genuinely believe that this is one of the esports that we really thrive in. Yeah,
definitely. And we see just TingTing, his only available play here really is the Murlocs. The Dread Corsair in this deck provides a huge swing turn with the True Silver and the Rallying Blade, so I think that is TingTing's route back into this game. Maybe a True Silver next turn with the Dread Corsair, or maybe even holding the Dread Corsair, as well as this Sunkeeper Tarim could be really strong against a Bone Mare turn or something else. But this is just a great Ica Warax turn. It's just a free 1-mana 2/2, and yeah, the Warax just helps clear up, and pushing the face damage as well is very relevant.
So the last time I saw HelloLeeroy's Tempo Warrior was before the latest expansion, so before the likes of Bone Mare, and I am not surprised that Bone Mare has wormed its way into this deck as well. Any sort of tempo deck, of course, Bone Mare's going to be in there. I'm trying to think of any crazy things that he used to have, but I think it's all fairly normal except the Argent Commander. Yeah,
so right at the start of this expansion, Tempo Warrior was being tested and played by quite a few players, and I believe it had Bone Mare's Bitter Ties and it curved out at Scourge Lord Garrosh, the new hero. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that in HelloLeeroy's deck. We see the pickup here of Noble Sacrifice. It looks reasonably strong. Here it kills off a 2/2 potentially. Again, really awkward turn though for TingTing. Could just hero power here. Nothing really that just looks very good.
Yeah, and he needs to have something on board to actually start using these cards like Blessing of Kings, like Spikeridge Steed, like Tarim. He's so far behind, and there it is. There's the Amani Berserker, the favorite card of HelloLeeroy, which also does really help with this mana curve as well.
Yeah, so Leeroy's just worried about Redemption or Noble Sack. Just makes the trade with the weakest minion first, makes sense. And we see the buff on the Warax here, which is really good. This Ravaging Ghoul actually damages his own board so much that he really just doesn't want to play it at the moment.
Yeah, and he may not even play it next turn either. Of course, it buffs up the Berserker, but do you really want to damage everything else? Potentially not. Another Blessing of Kings, another buff card that is doing very little for TingTing, which leaves him with either playing just 4-mana 3/3, which is terrible, and probably the reason why people think UK Paladin isn't that great, or you play a Megasaur.
Yeah, so he just makes a 5/5 here, which contests the board quite well. Now, you might think there's potentially a Consecrate that could come back in the game. Unless TingTing's edited Jumbo's deck, there is no Consecration. HelloLeeroy, having seen patches, might have the read of the exact deck list, presuming it's the Jumbo Paladin, and he might not just play around Consecrate at all. This Ghoul actually buffs the Amani Berserker here, pushing it for the trade potentially, or you could just jam all this face, and making sure, I presume he's going to play around the Spikeridge Steed here by trading it off.
Yeah, trade with your face and then push all the damage and hope for the best. So for TingTing now, what, Sunkeeper Tarim is your only real option? It does reduce things down, but
yeah, you're still dead the Tarim.
So HelloLeeroy's famous Tempo Warrior that I am actually glad that I'm not crazy. It does exist. He gets 1 win on the board. So that leaves him with the 2 decks that we have already seen remaining against the Paladin. And you said there is a decent chance of him getting back with these.
I was thinking the Warrior would be the hardest deck for him to get the win with, presuming it was Control Warrior. But having got that win with the Tempo Warrior, definitely the momentum's back in his favor. And we have 2 matchups, which he can definitely come out on top with. This could even be a aggressive Druid deck potentially. And considering he's bought an aggressive Warlock, he's bought an aggressive Rogue, he's bought an aggressive Warrior, he might just have a full aggro lineup here. And the aggressive Druid is very strong against the Paladin.
And he got to see a little bit of Lady Luck on his side that game as well. Of course, with patches being drawn for TingTing, you saw he said, okay, finally something's got on my way.
Yeah.
And I always find that when there is the temptation to get lured into tilt and all of that, when something bad goes against your opponent, it does help ease you because you realize that the game isn't just out to get you. And a lot of people do get in that mind frame.
We could definitely see he would calm down a lot that game, and I don't know how much the reactions actually show what he's really thinking, but yeah, we do see just the quad aggro lineup here from Leeroy.
So going all out aggression, the green sheep style. as we like to call it on the Premiership, unless it's at a live finals when you're just trying to duke everyone else, of course.
Yeah, so Leeroy actually didn't play Druid in the past 3 weeks of the Premiership, and TingTing therefore has no real read. Like, he might, if Leeroy had been playing Druid every week, he might mulligan for Jade, but I presume he's just going to mulligan for just any Druid deck. So you just want the one-drop Murlocs. From Leeroy's side, you need to be able to kill the one-drop Murlocs that come down, and he's got a 2-pair here of Swarms and Power Wilds. Now, Swarm's a good play, but the 1/5 can sometimes get beaten up by a Tidecaller.
Yeah.
So it's interesting what he's going to keep here.
Yeah, this is a really difficult mulligan. I played a lot of aggro Zoo and aggro Druid, sorry.
Dark Iron Dwarves in
makes
these
an
one as
appearance
well.
again. Like,
I wonder if that was in the Tempo Warrior.
Probably, knowing HelloLeeroy. He has these just weird fixations with cards. No, there's a bit of Hydra,
yeah.
obviously. I think I do agree with the mulligan. I would have been tempted for one of the Power of the Wilds, but I think there are other more influential cards that he could have found.
Just looking for those one-drops.
Yeah.
The most powerful cards in the deck are the one-drops, including Mark of the Lotus. You'd much rather obviously have Mark of the Lotus over Power of the Wild. Might as well try mulligan for it. We see the Hydrologist contesting the Firefly here. He picks Noble Sack here. I guess that helps against some early game stuff. So he draws into Corsair. You could spread wide here, but you could also save the Corsair because he knows there's 4 weapons in TingTing's deck.
Yeah, saving for the weapons, also saving for the burst potential with Savage Roar at some point as well. I know it's a risk because patches could be drawn at any moment, but those are considerations to make.
Yeah, he wants to kill the Murloc as well. The patches does kill the Murloc and removes the possibility of a buff through War Leader or Rockpool, but he just allows that buff to happen. And there is no War Leader or Rockpool from TingTing's side.
And I guess because he's seen a secret being taken, that patches could be used to just get rid of a Noble Sacrifice potentially as well.
Yeah, so here you would love to just play War Leader or Rockpool or even Rallying Blade, but we've seen none of them. He's going to want to make a board here that he can try and Kings or Megasaur. So I imagine seeing the Tidecaller coming down with the Noble Sack. And the question here is, does he trade? Is he worried about a potential Lotus or potential Power of the Wild?
If he does trade, then actually that puts him in a worse position, right?
Yeah, that's what we know from our perspective. Oh, that's a great draw.
Yeah, that really helps. Mark of Yasharaj means he can deal with this whole board now.
Yeah, so he's got to think about how to play. This is always a situation when Paladin plays a secret, Noble Sack or Redemption, and he's going to have to try and test best.
So you use probably the patches to test.
Use the patches to test the Noble Sack.
And then you make the trades accordingly as well. TingTing wasn't happy about that play though. Again, for himself, he needs to not fall in the same position HelloLeeroy did earlier where he starts getting frustrated with the game. He's still in a fantastic position where he has a little bit of a cushion to win a couple of games here.
Yeah, so you also, I guess, have to consider Getaway Kodo. Which one would you rather give back? You really want to value bump this Firefly into the Tidecaller. So the issue is he can't clear the whole board. It's not really possible. I would like to just see the bump into the Tidecaller. He goes face. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you can bump into the Tidecaller.
Yeah. And then you don't even have to use the I mean, it would have worked out exactly the same.
Yeah.
No matter where he'd hit. But yeah, it seems fine. King's just is really clean here. Cleans up. He could have gone for Poisonous off Megasaur, but since that's only a 3 in 10, he's going to go for the safe route here. And the 6/3 is really fine on the board.
Interesting. You just said route.
Route.
I mean, I have an American wife, so I hear a lot of route. But I was just surprised you said it as well. That's American television for you kids.
Yeah. So we see the Dark Iron Dwarf is amazing here. It's just so strong, pushing this damage. Can over 6/3 with a 1/2 here. Really, really strong play.
Yeah, finally we're seeing that card actually do some real work.
Yeah, the TingTing, when you're behind on board like this, as I said before, really, really looking just for a weapon here. It looks like HelloLeeroy might have cut the Galactic Crawlers and put in cards like Tar Creeper and Dark Iron Dwarf, potentially. But I don't think so. He did leave up the Rogue, so I doubt he's cut the Galacas. That's what TingTing could be concerned about.
So is the Megasaur being played then? Looks like a little bit of a
that's all the
issue as well. But Galactic Crawler is coming out.
So that's going to be useful in future turns, right? Yeah.
I imagine you just slam down the Hydra here.
So comeback mechanics, HelloLeeroy has to think about. Finger into Steed, and Tarim on 6, and Weapon into Dread Corsair. He's got Weapon into Dread Corsair covered by the Galacca. Now he might be worried about playing Hydra and then 2 turns as a Tarim. He could spread wide with Tarku with Power of the Wild, but it is just an 8-8, and you do have the 2 1-2s, which are good against the Tam anyway.
Still awkward for TingTing. We're just going to jump into HelloLeeroy's point of view whilst we sort out TingTing's spectator bug as well. So we don't know what he's drawn just yet, but
he had a really awkward hand. Corsair, Spikewood Steed. None of these players were good. He was really relying on this top deck to be Finja, maybe Tarim.
A weapon would have been nice. Both times that we've seen Corsair in the hand for TingTing, it's just been without a weapon.
Ooh, so he could have Tarim'd here, leaving his opponent with 3 3-3s. But he's kind of got a little greedy here, potentially, hoping for an even better Tarim in future turns.
So not quite lethal yet, as far as I can count. 21.
So 10 on board, the Savage Roar deals 8, the Power of the Wild deals 3, so yeah, not quite there. So I imagine just clear your opponent's board and play as hard as you can around Tam. TingTing might be hoping that Leeroy trades both these small guys into the War Leader to set up for the Tam, but unfortunately the buff here denies that from happening.
Yeah, and that's going to be 9 damage going towards the face that he potentially could have avoided as well if he had played Tarim.
But he did get the buff out of the way, and that means that the Tarim can't be value traded. If the buff had been in hand, then you could buff the 3 3-3s and then value trade the Tarim, and now that's not the case. So holding back the Tarim has kind of worked out for him here, and it is quite strong here. The comeback he needed, he can go Hero Power Steed into Steed, and that could be enough to come back in this game.
Savage Roar plus Hero Power can make pretty short work of
that
this
just
Tarim. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to count.
Yeah.
6, 7, 4, 7, 9, 11. I think you're 1 off.
Yeah,
I don't think there's an easy trade that you can go into 7, right?
Yeah, you're just 1 off. Yeah. It looks like it's got to be face plus a minion into the 3/7, and then of course, looks like 5 plus 6 is 1 off. Yeah. So do you still do it? Is the question here. Putting your opponent to 1 can be a really powerful play. If he has swipe, that could be some reach, but the Druid deck just has no. Oh.
Is it lethal with Captain?
Oh, is it lethal with? Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I think Leeroy saw that late as well.
Yeah.
He almost missed it. So
well, I missed it myself. I didn't notice the buff on the pirate. Yeah.
Yeah. I caught it very late. Just as I noticed, HelloLeeroy just suddenly threw his hands up. Yeah, he almost missed that, but he does find it, and he's going to be tying the series up to 2-2. So we go to Game 5 once again. Of course, the prize of winning this is a spot at the finals, making it to the top 8. Leeroy has a chance of the reverse sweep here. That would have been pretty disastrous if he had missed that, and he would have been very upset, and I'm sure everyone's upset at us as well because we were missing it, but I just didn't see it straight away.
No, I just didn't recognise the captain. It's fine though. I'm sure from the player's perspective, you're thinking a lot more about it. I was thinking more from the other side, TingTing, how he could come back in the game. But yeah, that's the momentum fully on HelloLeeroy's side. And just 1 deck left. It's going to be the Zoo deck, which he's already failed with twice, against TingTing's Paladin, that he's failed with twice. Which of the worst decks can win? And
I'm trying to work out which one is built worse. I mean, statistically, or if you go across the actual meta decks, HelloLeeroy's isn't built normally. So it's a little bit abnormal. It has those Dark Iron Dwarfs, but they might come to bite TingTing in the arse, because TingTing might be thinking of playing around things that he's not used to playing around necessarily. He should notice that the Dark Iron Dwarfs were there though, because he saw them. HelloLeeroy put them on the board. But here we have it anyway. Final game of this series. One of these players has to make it to the finals. One of them will be going home. Yeah,
so TingTing's going to be praying for the 1-drop. Oh, he's got the True Silver Dread Corsair hand though. He looks dismayed, but this is the perfect comeback in the game, True Silver Dread Corsair. So I don't think he should be so dismayed. The Chum on 1 with no Murloc in hand feels awkward.
Yeah, Lady Luck seems to have very much reversed it and gone on to TingTing's side now. Well, gone on to HelloLeeroy's side, shall I say, against TingTing.
Yeah, so he has an excellent curve here with Captain into Captain. We need to see some, maybe a Rotball Hunter off the top here could be the, If he'd not play the Chum on 1, this would be an excellent turn here.
Yeah, but of course, there's no situation where you never play it. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and now Leeroy can just coin out Captain. Be able to deal with everything. Yeah, this is perfect for him. He's in a really good position now in these kind of matchups where board control really matters. But there is that swing mechanic a little bit later, 2 turns for TingTing.
Ow, that's a very good swing turn.
Yeah, it's a really good swing turn, but it's pretty awkward right now.
So we'll see if HelloLeeroy anticipates this swing turn. Now, the Voidwalker would completely deny the True Silver Champion here. If you play second captain here to try and get ahead on board, that's when the punish comes. So I would really like to see this Voidwalker come down, anticipating a True Silver Champion swing turn. We'll see what he does, though.
I guess he's thinking nothing's been played yet. So if HelloLeeroy does think properly about this and he actually takes his time, he'll think, what's the worst case scenario? My opponent hasn't really played much, but he is going to go for captain, it looks like.
Second thoughts. And doing this is a read for your opponent. So now it's a very small thing here, but him picking up the captain, TingTing's perspective, he sees a card being picked up, he can note down in his head, this is a playable card for 3 mana.
Yep.
And then next turn, maybe he can make a read about something. It's very unlikely to matter, but it's just small things like that.
They are tiny things, and it's those intricate details that I do like to point out quite often, because I feel like they can make a real difference. HelloLeeroy does go for the captain in the end, so at least a True Silver captain into double Dread Corset is going to get some value.
Oh, this is tasty. So the patches can be killed off, or the imp. I imagine the imp will be killed off over the patches, since we've seen both of the... Oh, it's interesting because the patches is a 2-1. Which one would you kill? 2-1 or 1-1? There's a chance for Crystal Weather for potential punish, but we don't think he plays it because he plays Dark Wind or...
Yeah, I think because it's only turn 3, you can get away with killing the patches here. You know your opponent doesn't have the coin, so there isn't going to be a Doomguard turn.
Yeah, against Dark Iron Dwarf, it really doesn't matter which one you kill. So,
in that case, I think you kill... patches? No, it looks like he's going to go for the imp instead.
Yeah, because, it just makes sense. What if you don't kill the imp this turn and somehow it stays around?
Yeah.
The Soulfire? Oh, yeah, just the Soulfire is the main reason there, right?
Yeah.
You definitely want to deny that. So I definitely like killing the imp here, considering Dark Iron Dwarf. Like the two, he needs to have Archer's Veteran to punish you, and Soulfire is just more likely, I think. But we do see double Firefly coming down here, and the Voidwalker, which does... the issue with the Voidwalker just dies to the 3-1, but that's fine, I think. We're going to have to see maybe a Finger here, something big. Hydrologist works. It is a 5-mana play with the hero power.
Yeah, that's something. Without it, I was slightly concerned having just the weapon and the Curator. But the Curator at least is going to refill in a couple of turns, but he needs to get to those next couple of turns in a decent board state. Otherwise, he might struggle.
So he has to be worried about Despicable Dreadlord here. If you're worried about Despicable Dreadlord, then I think you pick Noble Sack and you start trading here. The redemption is really bad into a Dreadlord because, of course, a 1 HP minion comes back, the Dreadlord kills it anyway. So this is one of the rare scenarios where, he even goes Getaway Kodo, thinking that his hand is so sort of limp, he doesn't have enough plays on the following turns, and he wants to get this Dread Corsair back in his hand.
Yeah, that's not trusting the heart of the cards there.
Dread Corsair back in his hand does work with the Rallying Blade. It makes a lot of sense actually to get rid of Kodo. It's a 1-mana 3/3 back in your hand. We do see a trade here, and he's going to just play the Dreadlord and go for the full clear to deny the Spikeridge Steeds.
So HelloLeeroy still in a really a decent position now, but TingTing could do with actually another one of those low mana costing Murlocs potentially to put on the board. That's not one, that is a Murloc, but...
So,
I think you have to just Finger, don't you?
Yeah,
well, you don't have to, but...
You can Finger this turn. Next turn, you can kill off the Despicable Dreadlord in conjunction with the weapon, and then play the Dread Corsair. It makes a lot of sense. This turn is becoming awkward for Leeroy. You don't really want to discard 2 cards with the Doomguard, especially worried about Sunky Patarim. So I imagine he's going to just spread as wide as possible here, which would be the Chain Gang. The question is if you tap or play the Elemental alongside.
I mean, if you're worried about Sunky Patarim, then I think you just play the Elemental alongside, but... I would have played Saronite Chain Gang regardless, just because I don't want my Dreadlord to be able to be killed too easily.
Yeah, so this Curator's been in hand for a long time, so he's going to have the read that it's probably Spikeridge Steed, it could be a King's maybe, because TingTing was behind on board, and yeah, of course it could be the Curator, and Tam as well, so it's a really small number of cards that he's going to play around. He could potentially play the Councilman here. The earlier you play it, the more buffs it gets, the bigger it grows, of course, but he does just go full on board here, trying to beat up against he's just protecting his demon as well,
yeah,
which is going to keep on pumping damage.
HelloLeeroy might of course think that it's a Bone Mare in hand rather than the Curator possibly going into turn 7.
No buff as well for the Finger. This works really well for Leeroy, and as we see in hand, as patches has already been used, there is no buff. So does it have to be a Curator turn? You could go Cobalt on Hero Power, but I guess you just don't Hero Power, so it would just be a Cobalt. It's just so mana ineffective. You're so scared of Bone Mirror as well from TingTing's side, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it might just have to be Curator and pass here. Which,
yeah.
I mean, it's not horrendous, but it's not great. Rolling Blade plus Corsair certainly keeps you on the board a little bit more, but
I think it has to be the Curator here. Yeah, well, of course he's going to draw 3 cards off this and potentially swing back the board on the following turn. This does thin your deck out, so he's quite like to draw the Steed that he really needs. Oh, that's a Cairn.
Yeah, that's annoying. I think
it's really slow, but it does stick to the board.
I think Leeroy would have been, if that was something a bit useless, I think Leeroy would have been tempted with Doomguard here. But Cairn now might change his mindset ever so slightly. Oh, there's some other... yeah, you're right, she is pretty annoying. Yeah, that's the first thing I've heard her saying. That's pretty annoying.
No, yeah, I imagine Leeroy won't be emoting, but yeah, some of them can be quite annoying. So he's wondering here, he could push a lot of face damage here, or he could conserve some of his minions in order to let the Despicable Dreadlord's effect go off and kill a 4/5 here. He could Doomguard here, just take the trade, but I imagine he doesn't want to discard the value with the Cairn and the Councilman. We'll see what he chooses to do though.
No, he would have had the read last turn that, of course, there was no way for Findra to be buffed. Yeah. So he's going to want to try and keep one of these chain gangs alive.
Yeah, definitely no Steed in hand, but of course...
he'll know that there has probably been a Megasaur drawn.
I mean, definitely Megasaur and Scalebane, yeah. So he chooses to push the 4 damage here, I like it. Just loses the 1/2, yeah.
So now you most likely Megasaur here after playing... you play some Murlocs and then Megasaur, go for some sort of buff, try and get even more Murlocs on board.
Yeah, so you would love to play the Megasaur after trading, but of course you can't do that. So looking at the board, there's 12 damage on board currently. He's on 14, and you're going to be scared of 5 damage from Doomguard and 4 damage from Soulfire. Of course, if he had the Bone Mare, it would have been played, so we can rule out Bone Mare, but there's definitely potential of Soulfire and Doomguard in Leeroy's hand, so TingTing's going to have to try and play on that. I guess only really Taunt does that off the...
Alternatively, you could play 1 Megasaur, and then you could play Rallying Blade into Dread Corsair.
Yeah, so Rallying Blade, Dread Corsair's 4-mana play along with the Megasaur, yeah. That might be what he has to do here. I think it is what he has to do. Just any sort of +1/+1 attack, poisonous. He shakes his head. Did he miss everything? Wow. Oh, that's so unlucky for TingTing. He had 3 outs there, which is I think about 70-something%.
So there's not even Taunt there either. That means that you can only put 1 Taunt down. Leeroy then can take out the Dread Corsair with his 4/1 or 4/5, leaving him with 4/6/11.
Yep.
So just 1 off.
Yeah, so tap into Soulfire or tap into Coil could do it. I don't think he plays Coil. He could just play Councilman Doomguard here though, and the overwhelming board presence should be enough. What would he be scared of? Maybe a Sunkeeper Tarim.
Maybe a Bone Mare.
After trading a Findra. Maybe a Bone Mare.
I don't even think a Bone Mare would be enough at this point.
I don't think so. I think it would have to be a Tarim if he goes for the Councilman Doomguard line. And do you even need to play on that? I think the Councilman Doomguard's such a strong play. You only discard the Voidwalker, and you just so far ahead. Like you make TingTing have it basically, and even then, if he has it, it's not even that good.
And I think it's starting to sink into TingTing now that, despite a 2-0 lead, he may have slowly, well, not thrown this one away, but it has gone away from him as HelloLeeroy looks to make the reverse sweep. Of course, it's not over yet. As far as he's concerned, he wants to play this as optimally as possible and does go for your line of play in the end. Just to push a little bit of damage.
Yeah, so he could just continue trading here, trade this Doomguard. I think I like the trade on the Doomguard, although it does, going face makes the weapon redundant. You can do either line here, to be honest.
Either is okay. So HelloLeeroy begs the question of TingTing is, do you have any form of answer that can stop me winning the game? So Murloc War Leader can help you get at least some sort of buff, but I don't think that's going to be enough.
Yep, so the maximum you can do is make a 2/1 Taunt here with the Hydrologist into Noble Sack, and that would still be game. So that's really unfortunate for TingTing. the whiff with the Mega Soul was just so huge last turn. He could potentially have had this 2-3, wouldn't have pushed 2 damage. He'd be on 8 and he'd have a bunch of Murlocs on board. Had any buff been around, and this could have potentially swung back. But unfortunately, just no Spikewood Steeds, no nothing.
And cheers for HelloLeeroy, and quite rightly as well. He was 2-0 down, he gets the reverse sweep. He was absolutely tilted off the face of the earth after those first 2 games, so credit to Leroy for actually being able to calm himself down and bring himself back into it to make the live finals. So that's 2 players now joining you at live finals, and I'm sure HelloLeeroy is going to be absolutely delighted with that. He's been really